Here's to the song. Song. They will be Good morning, everybody, and welcome to UUCC, the Unitarian Universalist Church of Canandaigua. We are a group of spiritual freethinkers who gather to celebrate life, build community, and better the world. Wherever you are on your spiritual journey, you are welcome here. I'm Kevin House, your worship associate this morning, and our service will be led by Reverend Eileen Casey Campbell. This service is also being live streamed to our YouTube channel. We will plan on continuing with hybrid worship services throughout the church year. So you can join us each week here in person, on Zoom, or later on YouTube as you prefer. If this is your first visit, welcome. We invite you to sign the visitor's book in the entryway. And whether it's your first visit or your 100th, we are glad that you came. I have a few announcements to share. Please wear a mask. Masks are available for anyone who forgot one. RE and childcare will be provided this morning by Kaya Mells. We will be collecting the cards for joys and sorrows after our first hymn. Please fill them out or type into the chat box in Zoom if you have something you would like to share. Also, this will be an abbreviated service because of our annual meeting, which will occur right after the service. So please remain in your seats after the service. We'll have the meeting and then potluck. Are there any other announcements for the good of the community? As we prepare to be fully together, I remind you to silence your phones and devices. We now enter a space of worship. We have some chalice lighting assistance. Hi. Should I give this to her? Yeah. So you light the candle here and then up here. You gotta move the wick over a little bit. Can you get that wick right into the flame? There you go. All right. Put that there. I invite you to join me in our chalice lighting words as the flame is lit. Thank you. As people of faith, with joys and sorrows, gifts and needs, we light this beacon of hope, sign of our quest for truth and meaning, in celebration of the life we share together.
this is the launch of our Simple Sunday service, which we're going to use throughout the summer as a simple chapel service that is easy to lead for lay folks. It doesn't include a sermon, so it's also maybe easy to participate in for small folks. And today's service, because this is new to us, I'm going to explain most of the elements and why they're here and how they look. It's sort of like for a very small generation of folks out there, a VH1 pop-up music video worship service. So we start with a call to worship, and it'll be the same every week. And it goes like this. Come into this space. Come into this space with all of yourself. Virtually or embodied together, bring your joy, your wonder, your love, your praising. Bring also your hurting and hardened, broken hearts. Bring your tender doubts, your fears, and your sorrow. Come into this space just as you are, you. In case you're still thinking I'm talking about someone else and your particular broken parts and soft places aren't really what I mean, let me be clear. You are welcome here. You, your whole being is welcome here. Your whole beautiful and breakable, wondrous and messed up, holy and hungry being. You, just as you are, all of who you are, even those sticky, squeaky, hurting, hard to find because they've been buried deep for so many years, parts of you. You with wide open hearts, and even you with stuck shut hearts, longing to creak and crack open just a little bit. You are invited to this celebration. Please enter in. And may we discover that a community full of other whole and holy beings have shown up with us too. Let's rise in our bodies or spirits here or at home and sing together our opening hymn, number 16 in the gray hymnal, "'Tis a Gift to Be Simple."
We are a community that holds one another in our celebrations and in our pain. We welcome you to share your joys and sorrows by writing them down on the card you found on your chair and placing it in the basket when it comes by you, or by typing in the chat box in Zoom. Know that whatever your heart is holding today, whether shared or not, we are with you.
And now it's time for a reading. And the pop-up information on the reading is that for this reading I chose one that was friendly to kids, that is more in the format of a story, and I put the longer reading in this place. And maybe when you're leading worship in the summer, you'll make similar choices. This is a reading called Nasruddin Has to Preach. It's about worship services where the preacher has nothing to preach. And it's from one of our favorite tricksters, the Sufi fool, holy fool Nasruddin. And it goes like this. One of Nasruddin's duties in the village of Akshahir was to give the sermon in the mosque on Friday evenings. Many Fridays he enjoyed preaching. He had so much to say, and he enjoyed looking out at the upturned faces of his congregation while he spoke words of wisdom inspired by the Quran and by his wisdom and wide experience in the village life. There were other Fridays, however, when Nasruddin had nothing to say. It was on just such a Friday that he made his way across the village square, through the great door of the mosque, through the crowd of people who had gathered to hear him, and up into the pulpit. He looked at the beautiful mosaics on the walls around him, at the carpets on the floor, at the faces below him. Nothing inspired him. His mind was blank. Yet he had to speak, so he decided to trust his congregation and to be a little bit tricky. Nasruddin opened his mouth and said, "Oh, people of Akshahir, do you know and understand what I am about to say to you?" "No," the people said, a resounding no, we do not. "What?" said Nasruddin. "How can I speak to such ignorant people?" And he gathered his robes around him and descended from the pulpit free for 1 week. But this week, like the others, passed. And once again, Nasruddin found himself climbing into the pulpit with no idea of what he was going to say. He did notice that the mosque was quite crowded. There were more faces than usual gazing up at him expectantly. The word had spread about last week's sermon. So once again, the wise fool opened his mouth and spoke, saying, "Oh, people of Akshahir, do you know and understand what I am about to say to you?" "Yes, Nasruddin, we do," answered the people, who remembered what had happened the week before, or had been told. He beamed at them. "Wonderful," he said. "Then there's no need for me to say it." He gathered up his robes around him and descended from the pulpit free for 1 more week. It was indeed rare for Nasruddin to go 3 weeks without inspiration, but this time it happened. Another Friday came, and still he felt nothing in his heart moving him on what to say. Others, however, had much to say, and news of Nasruddin's strange sermons had traveled far and wide. Indeed, he had some trouble pushing his way through the throng in the mosque, and looking down from the pulpit, he saw so many strange faces among the familiar ones from the village. Nasruddin smiled. He knew what to say. "Oh, people of Akshahir," he said, "do you know and understand what I am about to say to you?" Now, some people in the congregation thought of the week before, and they answered, "No, we do not." But others, thinking of the week before that, cried out at the same time, "Yes, we do." "Wonderful," said Nasruddin. "Then let those who know tell those who don't know." And he gathered up his robes and descended from the pulpit and went home. And all the people worshiped together without him. And this is the end of our story.
Now is the time in our service to join together in the spiritual practice of generosity. Our gifts of both time and money support our church in its work. Each week, we'd like to spotlight a group or committee and thank them for their gifted time. This week, the group is the Meditation Committee. People are interested in finding out more can contact Scobie Beers. 1/4 of our plate collection for the summer season goes to Camp Unirondack. Founded in 1951 by the Universalists, Unirondack is a radically inclusive camp and conference center with a mission to provide an environment that inspires people to explore responsible roles in the web of life through physical, mental, and spiritual challenges. You can give to this morning's offering by placing cash or a check into the basket or by one of the options on your screen. Please make a note that your gift is intended for today's offering. We will now gratefully accept the offering.
I will live night in a temple of perch, with enchanted mantras in nature's church. Cathedrals of clouds spiraled up in the air. They blessed us with rain and sang out a prayer. May you lose yourself in the woods to find yourself again. May you keep on singing and dancing till the end. May your dark turn to light and your death into birth. May your spirit be wild and may your heaven be on earth. Stars above were shamans dancing in the fire. Rivers sang harmony in the bugs and critters choir. The maples were facing Mecca, they were bowing their mellow drums. Birds went on a pilgrimage through all the winter months. Some say that the afterlife is in the sky somehow. Let's bring that then and there, right down to here and now. May you lose yourself in the woods to find yourself again. May you keep on singing and dancing to the end. May your star turn to light and your death into birth. May your spirit be wild and may your heaven be on earth. May your spirit be wild, may your heaven be on earth.
Here are the joys and sorrows for this morning. Dorothy writes, worried about the stress on trans and gay members of our extended family. Kaya writes of a joy, the celebration of life I went to yesterday was absolutely beautiful. It was a complete success. I'm very happy I was able to be there for the family. And Brandon writes, excited for summer plans with the kids. And here's a sorrow. The sorrow of an anti-LGBT city councilor remains seated in Geneva. Her joy, or this person's joy, is that 30 members of the community stood together at the last city council meeting against hate. I will now drop a stone. I will now drop a stone for these and all the joys and sorrows left in the silence of our hearts. Whatever is in your heart today, we are with you. At this time, if there are any children who would like childcare, please go downstairs with Kaya.
We have now in our service a responsive reading set at the center of the service, which will be the same every week. And I think its meaning and power will grow for us as we recite it every week through the summer. You can see the congregation's parts on the screen up in front. So let's try it out together for the first time. I think by August, we'll be really good at this. Love is the doctrine of this church.
The quest for truth is its sacrament. Its service is its prayer.
To dwell together in peace.
To seek knowledge in
to serve humanity in fellowship, with the source and meaning of life. And now is the time in our service for centering, followed by shared silence. So let's get comfortable in our seats. Let's take a deep breath. And we may, in the summer chapel services, simply do this. Get comfortable, take a deep breath, share in the silence. Or we may lift up some words of prayer or centering to bring our attention to as we sit. And this morning we have some prayers by Kenneth L. Patton. Let us worship with our eyes and ears and fingertips. Let us love the world through heart and mind and body. We feed our eyes upon the mystery and revelation in the faces of our siblings. We seek to know the wistfulness of the very young and the very old, the wistfulness of people in all times of life. We seek to understand the shyness behind arrogance, the fear behind pride, the tenderness behind clumsy strength, the anguish behind cruelty. All life flows into a great common life if we can only open our eyes to our companions. Let us worship, not in bowing down with closed eyes and stopped ears. Let us worship with the opening of all the windows of our being, with the full outstretching of our spirits. Life comes with singing and laughter, with tears and confiding, with a rising wave too great to be held in mind and heart and body to those who have fallen in love with life. Let us worship and let us learn to love. Let us share in silence now. Here is the place in our simple service for a reading that anchors the message of the morning. So maybe you would choose a long reading, an excerpt from a book, or a short little poem. And there are a resource, a file we've put together of so many readings, enough to last us months and months, that you might choose from so that you don't need to go rifling through your bookshelves unless that feels life-giving to you. Because as I'm sure Nasruddin read and remembered, the Quran teaches that God desires ease for us. And so this reading is a short one this morning by Dana Warsnop, and she wrote this. Often people say they love coming to a place with so many like-minded people. I know just what they're getting at. I know they aren't quite getting it right. I don't want to be with a bunch of people who think just like me. I want to be in a beloved community where I don't have to think like everyone else to be loved, to be eligible for salvation. I want to be with people who value compassion, justice, love, and truth, though they have different thoughts and opinions about those sorts of things. I want to be with independent-minded people of good heart. I want to be with people who have many names and no name at all for God. I want to be with people who see me in goodness and dignity, who see my failings and my foibles, and who still love me. I want to be with people who feel their interconnection with all existence and let it guide their footfalls upon this earth. I want to be with people who see life as a paradox and don't always rush to resolve it. I want to be with people who are willing to walk the tightrope that is life and who will hold my hand as I walk mine. I want to be with people who let church call them into a different way of being in the world. I want to be with people who support, encourage, even challenge each other to higher and more ethical living. I want to be with people who inspire one another to follow the call of the Spirit. I want to be with people who covenant to be honest, engaged, and kind, who strive to keep their promises and hold me to the promises I make. I want to be with people who give of themselves, who share their hearts and minds like gifts. I want to be with people who know that human community is often warm and generous and sometimes challenging, and almost always a grand adventure worth having. In short, I want to be with people like you. Amen. Let us rise now in body or in spirit to sing our closing hymn together, number 1057 in the Teal hymnal, Go Lift It Up.
Please join me in our words for extinguishing the chalice. We extinguish this flame, but not the light of truth, the warmth of community, or the fire of commitment. These we carry in our hearts until we are together again.